Hey now, cats, we're back again this week with my man 50 grand, Mr. Matt Onesti. I am Balls. This is Movie Snobs, and we have this week, we're pitting a very, I don't even know how to describe, how would you describe Come and See?
I would describe Come and See as quite possibly one of the most gut-wrenching, horrific, disturbing, and upsetting anti-war peace movies I have ever seen in my entire life.
I couldn't have put it better myself, and we're going to pit that movie against a zombie chicken musical this week. So, what better two films to contrast against? I'm going to go ahead and start. The first episode, Matt recommended me something. I wasn't so much into it, but I have to say this week, I watched Come and See, and I have to tell you that there has not been a day since I've watched this film that I haven't thought about it. I think it is a film that everybody should see at least once. It completely, like, I felt like I ran a marathon. I was emotionally and physically exhausted after I seen this film, and that is exactly the kind of shit that I like something that the whole purpose of film to me is it doesn't matter what genre of film it is, it doesn't matter what kind of film it is. Film is art to me. Art should make you feel something. Art should elicit some response. I was in an emotional roller coaster from the beginning of this film to the very end. I have like fucking really bad OCD. I can't start movies and stop movies and start movies and stop movies because they actually kind of takes the emotional, like the whole impact out for me. Dude, I had to break this movie in 2 days.
Oh my God, that's what here's the thing. When you and I were texting about this movie and you were like, oh, I didn't finish the movie, I got to finish. I just figured, oh, Balls got busy. He just couldn't. Oh my
no, dude.
God.
Dude, I've been watching like you're not used to watching like shit like I watch.
No, so when you showed
me, I must feel like I'm desensitized to almost anything.
After the conversation we had about I Saw the Devil, because I was going back and forth. So I like it's clearly with things going on right now. I thought, okay, maybe a nice anti-war movie would be prim and proper.
Yes.
There is another irony in it that this was a Russian movie. There's some weird irony in it that they created maybe one of the best anti-war movies ever, and it took like 10 years to make. It went through censorship hell. I mean, the Soviets.
Yeah, this was originally from 1985. I read
it was from 1985. I think they finished principal, or no, they had the script in limbo for like 5 years, and then I think it was in the can for another 5 years, like unable to get out. But I'm actually going off memory on that last one. So for the people on the internet watching, you can tell me that I'm wrong later, and I will thank you for helping me. But I had this, I wanted to get, because you gave me I Saw the Devil, which disturbed the ever-loving shit out of me and made me so uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, I got to give Balls something that I thought was my, like, parameters of, oh, fuck, what's going on here? So I'm happy to hear that you are mentally fucking destroyed. That makes me very, it makes me
it's funny, when I was watching this, I'm like, this motherfucker's paid me back for I Saw the Devil the whole time I'm watching this. And I'm like, it did, dude. Like, I you know what? It actually made me feel good because I almost felt like I was so desensitized to film that I couldn't feel anything anymore. And it ripped my guts out. Like, I mean, I have so many thoughts, so much stuff to say about this film. I'm going to try to keep it to like just a little notes I come up with. But I loved it, but it's just so I don't know if I can, like you said, remember, it's funny because I was thinking about the last episode and you're like, I liked I Saw the Devil, but I don't know if I could watch it again. I'm a dude that collects movies and I could watch them repeatedly. I finally understood what you meant because, like, I love it. I would probably own it, but I don't know if I could ever make it through it again. Like, there's so much. Here's what I thought about too. Like, it's funny because in reflection to what's going on now in the world, I had always thought that perhaps maybe in these past few years that, like, societally, like, we've gotten worse, like, as a people, as, like, humanity wise. When I watched this film, evil was just as fucking relevant back then as it is now. So really, nothing's changed. And I'll be honest with you, it disturbed the fucking fuck out of me, dude. To even know that, like, people could be that disgusting and evil back then. Like, I thought this was like shit that's like a new revelation, and like, it floored me. I tell you what, it really gave me a lot of reflective thought. I'm still thinking about it. I've thought about it every day since I watched it.
Wow.
I couldn't recommend a better anti-war movie. I'm so happy you made me watch this film. It changed me. Like,
wow.
I don't think, like, I remember my life before I seen Come and See. It's way different than afterwards, and I can't thank you enough because this is the kind of shit that I love. Like I said, film is such a passion to me. It makes me anything that makes me feel, even if it's like boring. I think it still has relevance because, like, that's still an emotion, and it should elicit emotion. And goddamn, dude, I felt like I went fucking 10 rounds with Tyson after I watched this movie, man. I went to bed and just fucking passed out. I had to break up. I'm like, I had to break it up into two. The next night, I'm like, fuck, man. And I was at work the whole day. The next day, going, I can't wait to go home and see what the fuck happens.
Oh, were you just in like
reading up on
shell shock? When you were at work, were you just at like shell shock, like you were the kid being fucking just
I just
bombarded?
kept thinking about, like, there's some scenes in there. I got to say too, for a war movie that was shot, I mean, I don't know what was shot, but it was from what, allegedly 1985. That has some of the best war cinematography I think I've ever seen. So I started reading up on it, and it was allegedly based on actual true events, which even makes it more disturbing. And not
Yeah.
to mention the fact that they used real costumes and they fired real ammunition over all the actors' heads and
Oh
shit.
yeah, it was very dangerous. It is not a movie you can
I
make.
couldn't even imagine how this film was made because it's so complex. So, like, I mean, war pictures in and of themselves are super hard to film. So I give anybody respect for even trying, but this is probably the best one that I've ever seen. I've seen several in my lifetime.
I mean, they straight up. I'm trying to remember. I was pulling up IMDb because I can never remember the actor's name. But the boy who stars in it
Is that what's his name? Floria? Is that his name?
Flora. Yeah, we'll call him his character's name, Flora. He just has these such expressive eyes.
It is, yeah, actually a lot, everybody, even like was it Gulfsha, the chick he hooks up with,
Yeah. Oh
like,
my god.
when you first see her, just fucking the cinematography in this movie is incredible. Like, it sticks with you, man. Like,
When she's brought in,
just
my favorite part about this movie, and actually, I wouldn't even say my favorite part. There's a lot because I actually have a couple questions I got to ask you now about what for about a couple scenes. But I loved how the introduction of this girl into this boy's life, it brings you into, like, this movie starts off and it's very fantastical. It's very, the boy wants to go off and defend the land. The mom doesn't want him to go, and it's it's this rite of passage. He has to defend his land, and he gets in there and he meets the girl, and they're having this beautiful surrealist combining, like, this visual poetry style that, like, Tarkovsky was so good at doing, that you're in this, like, fantastical dreamland with this kid and this girl. And one of my favorite things about that movie is when that glass just shatters and you see the paratroopers coming in, you hear the bombs, you see, like, it's that moment. And it's that turning point. And I think turning points in movies are obviously the most important pieces of them. But when you can have turning points in a movie that, like, hit you at such a, like, okay, something is viscerally wrong with what's about to happen. And then everything that comes afterwards matches that horrible feeling. That's a masterpiece. That is an absolute masterpiece. But this like dipping in and out of the fantastical in this dreamland, you never know if it's like you never know if you're surviving in this like surrealist world or if you're surviving. Is this real life or is this just in this kid's head? And every time you think, oh, this is just in this kid's head, you're just crushed by the weight of reality. You're crushed by the weight of paratroopers dropping in and I'm going to ask you this. Because I'm going to ask you this question first, and I'm going to tell you the scene that still haunts me to this day.
Dude, there's 20. I can easily I have to say, like, there's still things that just stick in my brain, like freeze frame scenes from that. And I'm just like, God damn.
So is there anyone that you think jumps out, like gut reaction that you think jumps out the most? Because I have one I can talk about that hurts.
I have several, but if I had to narrow it down to one, actually, there's two that majorly stand out through the whole movie that I think is the most gut-wrenching for me. Is whenever Galasha and him go back to see his parent or his mom and his sisters, and she ends up seeing the stack of bottles, and she tells him not to look, and he hit it like they're dead. You know, that hit me pretty hard, dude. And the second would be whenever they have them all in the barns. They tell them to remove the children, and they tell them to remove the adults, and then they torch the kids. Dude, I'm still fucking gutted from that. Like,
so, and the one with him going back to his village. So you and I have the same exact ones, because I was going to say the one that sticks out to me that when I explain this movie to people, and they, you know, if maybe they're saying they're worried about not wanting to watch it. I explain that scene all the time to people because it is one of the most horrific examples of what pure evil looks like, because it shows this evil and this brutality of war that isn't just physical violence, that isn't just the execution and the destruction of those around you. It's the mental destruction. It was one of the most beautiful and haunting examples of how do you destroy people, not only physically, but how do you destroy them mentally in their last possible moments? And that is a scene that is so well done. It is so well directed. It is so well acted. The sounds are so fucking awful. And it just sticks to you like glue.
It really does, man. I still think about it. And I think the thing I like the most about this movie is, in fact, the message. And it does touch upon a lot, like you just said, how you break down, how you see his, you know, you pretty much see him psychologically break down and deteriorate through the whole movie.
Well, he starts off as a 13-year-old boy, and look, not only starts off as a 13-year-old boy, but looks like a child. And by the end of the movie, he's like a 40-year-old man. By the end of the movie,
that's actually what I wanted to touch upon. Because in the beginning, it's almost like, you know, in a child's eyes, like, it's glorified, you know. He thinks he's doing something great, and he's doing something to like honor his family and his country. And then once he actually sees how things really are, that's whenever the fucking slippery slope starts, and you just see that degradation of the psyche through the whole film. And I you know, again, I don't think this is one of the few films where I actually think you see that in its, you know, its entirety. Like, there's a lot of times where they do films where like you see people break down, but you actually see him break down like bit by bit by bit. By the end of the movie, you're just like, you're completely, you're just like completely spent from watching this fucking poor bastard like grow up in a matter of how much time. I mean, he went from what 13 to 40 in like how long?
And like the ending, this idea that like after everything this kid's seen, after everything he's been through, he will never be the same. The world around him will never be the same. And yet there's still this, what would you say? I don't know if innocence is the right word, but there's still this latching on to innocence, even in the bitter end, where in this moments, and spoiler alerts obviously for everybody watching, but this doesn't fucking change anything. It needs to be seen. When he's they've just executed the German soldiers, and he's standing there looking at the picture of Hitler, and he's just firing into it, firing into it, firing into it. And it's this showing of Hitler as an adult, Hitler, the origins of Nazi. And then when it gets to him in his childhood, into his baby, and he just breaks down, and Fiora just finally breaks and cannot bring himself to pull the trigger again. I think it's one of the most unique observations of all of this brutality and destruction. This idea is there's one, what is evil? Is evil this thing that exists from birth to death that cannot be changed, or is evil something that grows and festers or is altered? Or even this simple idea of like, is there an innocence to any of this when it comes to kids being involved into doing this for just reasons? Is there's these real unique sort of ideas that they're grappling with, while simultaneously showing just hell, literal fucking hell on earth, and still concerned with what is humanity's place in all of this. Are we a passive observer, or are we the most active participant? And it's such a beautiful, it's so goddamn beautiful.
It really is, man. I mean, I'm still floored. I have to watch a Criterion version too, which I think helped. I mean, I have to say, man, I'm definitely going to buy it. But I mean, am I ever going to could probably revisit it? It would be tough, but I probably will at some point, because it is something I would like to show people, because I do think it's especially now, a very important film. I mean, war films are tough to begin with, but this probably is the most meaningful one I've ever seen.
I think you
feel like you're. I think the way it's shot too, you feel a lot of war pictures are kind of from afar. This kind of feels like you're right up. In the front line everywhere he's at.
Well, because it's just straight up from his perspective.
Yeah, it almost feels it's not cinema verite, but it feels very like that.
What a good, wow, you are a movie snob. Jesus Christ, you pretentious bastard.
What'd you think I was kidding? Is they called movie snobs for nothing?
God damn it, my guys over here talking about what was that, the Malaise brothers doing cinema? Son of a bitch. Guys who made Salesmen? Am I thinking of the right guys?
No, cinema verite is a from your perspective type of cinema.
Oh, okay. Oh, see, I'm not even as much of a film snob as you. I'm just a fraud.
I taught you something today.
Well, see, that's the point of this podcast. We learn.
We learn, we grow.
We grow, we experience hell on earth, we enjoy it thoroughly.
I gotta say, dude. I mean, I don't want to sound repetitive and redundant, but
but like the directing of it was perfect. It married not only is it one of the greatest war movies ever made, if not the greatest war movie ever made.
I think it might be the best one I've ever seen, and I've seen several. And
here's it, because I had this, and it was funny. I was even before all this war stuff was happening. I remember I went through I was watching war movies in the midst of the pandemic, and I watched this. I watched War and Peace. I was watching the Costa Gravis movies like State of Siege, Z, and it's you know, and obviously you have, you know, the Saving Private Ryans of the world. You have Paths of Glory of Stanley Kubrick. You'd like all of those. Yeah, they're all these great movies and stuff, but there is never a moment of coming out of it. There is never a moment like this is such a pure movie when it comes to this idea that the job of a director is to turn the audience into the main observer, turning them into the person who is just as much a part of the story as the main character. This is a movie where that line, that thread is so continual throughout the entire movie. And it's amazing to hear that even when you broke it up into 2 days, that you were still that you were still just so pulled into it. Because that to me is the mark of just this great, amazing, well done movie, that everything is clicking, everything from cinematography to acting to effects to sound design to because here's the thing, the sound design of that movie was nuts. It was
Absolutely.
ridiculous.
I actually was listening on, rather than watching on the TV, I was watching it on my laptop with these really badass headphones.
Oh, nice.
I gotta say, dude, it was that was probably the way to go.
Because they did this, and it's one of the things I love about like what sound and how you can present things visually, but also sound. It can impact your subconscious feelings of it. It can impact your like the subconscious mind, and which then impacts your feelings on it. And their use of like they would hyperfixate on certain sounds. They would hyperfixate on people walking. I was trying to watch a couple of videos of it just to kind of refresh on some scenes, and I forgot about it because it was like weird comedy right in the beginning of it when the mom is giving the soldier the drink, and he's just like slurping this shit down like.
I'm like that was some weird place comedy for sure.
Yeah, it was like it's so like, and that's one of the beautiful things of like how you can, I'm just gonna say, abuse sound. That you can do like weird shit like that throughout an entire movie and lay the breadcrumbs for it early with comedy, and then use that same shit to like, make the scenario of an entire fucking church being burned with people in it, but you're like not really hearing the screams. Like it's you're hearing other shit. Like it's just such a fascinating movie that hurts. It hurts so much.
It really does, man. I have to say, people don't realize how important sound is. I mean, with you can have the most beautiful shot film, the best cinematography, the best actors. If you don't have that, audio was where all the emotion and all the punch comes from. Like, I mean, try watching something with no sound.
Yeah.
It won't.
I had a sound professor, which is why he was so into sound. But he had this real fun. He called it the Holy Triumvirate. Triumvirate. I think I fuck up certain words sometimes because I'm also an idiot. But he used to talk about if you're making these pieces, you want to make this perfect movie, you have to ensure that you're not only paying attention to a perfect story or a perfect sight, but you need the sound. All of them, these three things held up together will create this beautiful piece. If one of those legs is missing, you have a turd. You have an absolute turd sandwich. And this was, god damn, this thing had many legs.
Well, dude, I don't really have anything else to say. I could probably talk about it for another week, but
you're gonna think about it you're gonna be thinking about it for the rest of your life. So that's,
dude, you know what? I really probably am, man. Like I have to say, in some of the best films I've ever seen, stick in my craw like that. I have to absolutely
here's what we'll end on with it, because you brought up a point earlier that I really, really liked. that it made you think about things that you never thought about before, that it made you consider this idea that maybe this is something that's always been around. That's a lot like, and that's something that I talk about extensively, not just with film but with work that I do with like advocacy stuff, is there's all these issues that we're never confronted with, and we don't have things that happen to us that force us to confront certain issues. And then the moment we see them, we just assume that they never existed, that they're new, and it is one of the most amazing things to hear from me that a piece of art, that a piece of film was able to give you that same exact way of thinking without you actually having to experience the literal and upsetting hell that is war, that is fascism and whatever that bullshit was. Because then it's amazing, and I love that. I love that you were able to have philosophical awakening from this movie. That is amazing.
Well, I felt the same way, dude. Like I always am. Like I said, any film that makes me feel anything isn't a disappointment. So I mean, even things that I find boring or things I may not really like so much, I still think it's worthy. Because I mean, listening now when it makes you feel nothing, it's pretty pointless, I think. So
yeah.
But anyway, let's shall we?
Let's end on a good note. Now that we've depressed ourselves talking about a one of the most horrific war movies ever made, let's talk about the movie that you assigned to me for this week's episode, referred to as Poultrygeist. The night. Hold on, I wrote it down. The Night of the Killer Chicken.
The Night of the Chicken Dead.
The Night of the Chicken Dead. Poultrygeist, The Night of the Chicken Dead. It is a Troma production by the craziest fucking person I am so happy you have introduced me to, named Lloyd Kaufman.
Oh, dude!
My God,
Lloyd has been a boyhood hero of mine. Okay, I've loved him since I was probably 10 years old. And I'll tell you how I fell in love with him. There used to be a show, because I'm an old fuck, when I was younger, on USA. There isn't even a USA Network anymore, is there?
Barely. They show wrestling. No, they have the Raw is still on USA.
But when Balls was a kid, they had a thing called USA Up All Night. And what they would do is they would show B movies, shitty movies, and they were hosted by either Gilbert Gottfried or this chick named Rhonda Shear. And they would play Troma movies. And dude, I thought when I seen the first Toxic Avenger, I've been in love ever since. And Lloyd is, it's funny, dude. If I got in a time machine, I said this a lot about people that I've met that actually has become a big part of my life. When I was a kid, I would want nothing more to ever meet Lloyd Kaufman, because he was a big idol of mine. Howard's a big idol of mine, all these people. I have met him over the years, and we've become great friends. I text him. I did a commercial for Troma on Troma Now. He actually asked me to do a commercial for Troma.
God.
And I just recently, we seen him last weekend when we went to Monster Mania. And
well, I am
amongst one of the nicest dudes in the entire world. But I want to hear what you think of
I am so upset. I am so upset I didn't watch this or like look into this movie before you went there, because I had so I maybe not questions about this, but I had so many questions about like the Troma stuff. But let's talk about the movie first before we get into that. Poultrygeist, it was such a ridiculous movie. That was such even for like B movie standards. It's really proof that you can just make a movie about anything. Like you can just literally throw like darts at a wall and just create a movie. And I don't mean that in like a mean way, because like like, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna shit on it by saying like, oh yeah, you can make a movie about anything, but like the story continuity through like the whole movie was good. Like there was never things that they were just like forgetting about. Like it was pretty well made. But it was a weirdly self-aware comedy. It was like a very it almost seemed like it was mocking genres. It was mocking all these different kinds of genres. Like I got this feeling that it was mocking like teen romance movies. It was mocking the dumb protagonists in horror movies, these ridiculous twists just for the sake of ridiculous twists. Like I thought that was so ridiculous. And here's the other thing that I didn't even mention, like that was the most offensive movie I've ever seen. Like just straight up, just the most like fucking that shit was so goddamn like, wow, what the fuck? But here's the thing. That was like progressive offensive. Like I didn't know that it was possible to not like to be that offensive but still not be like a huge asshole. Because every character was a stereotype. I was just waiting. Like I'm watching this movie and they're doing all this shit and it's offensive. Okay, this is funny, but like I'm waiting for the slip up. I'm waiting for like one person to be presented way too seriously or like I was just waiting for it. So like every movie falls into this trap and it never fucking happened. Every character was this just like really beautiful, juicy stereotype. And it was just, okay, let's just put them in a room together and let's let them be as ridiculous as possible. That shit was wild. And so, like, here's the thing too. Like, it was another one of those movies, kind of like what you gave me with I Saw the Devil, is it's another one, it's like a good movie to watch with the family and eat a big meal before. Like you just eat all the food that you can and then you watch it with your kids. No, like it was fucking like it was so gross. Like it was such a gross, disgusting, like we were just talking about Come and See is like, oh my God, that was like, but like this was like fucking like literal, like, oh my God, that shit, was making me gag. Like, because here's the thing, and this is a question I wish I could, I wish I watched this and like got into this before, because like I got a weird feeling from some of the prosthetics and some of the like the goop and the goo and the like puppets, but like the prosthetics and shit that they use mostly, I got these like David Lynch vibes that I saw in like how he would make these like real gross things in like Eraserhead, and how he would couple that with like weird sounds that then add to you feeling really uncomfortable. I don't know if you ever saw David Lynch's Amputee, but it's literally just a lady with her legs cut off having like that shit drain. Like, so I'm watching Poultrygeist now, and like I'm getting these same, like I'm looking at these prosthetics as gross shit, and like in my head I know I'm like, this isn't real. This isn't real. But I'm getting that. Then it's like, oh fuck, I want to puke. This shit is disgusting. What is going on? Like,
let me ask you this: what did you find the most repulsive part of the whole film? Because I have an answer immediately.
You know what's funny? It was probably the shitting scene. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, and it's funny. The last one you gave me, and I Saw the Devil, had one of the most like just explosive diarrhea. Not like explosive diarrhea, but it was like he gives himself diarrhea and is just like shitting out the fucking tract. And then this, it's like, okay, here's explosive diarrhea, here's him shitting here, but then we're going to show you this guy's asshole, and then we're going to show the shit coming out of his asshole, and then we're going to rip his skin off, and then everything's going to be covered in shit. And then while Arby is singing and dancing in the shit, he's grabbing the shit and smearing the shit, and I'm
Making
like,
a heart
that's
with
the
it.
fucking shit. Like I've watched it, and like here's and like this is the other fucked up thing. The music fucking slapped. The music was amazing. It was so goddamn good. And I'm like, I'm listening to this beautiful song about love and he's just wiping like shit all over like the place, and I'm like, what the fuck is this song? Is amazing. And then and then there was just tits everywhere. There was just it was just hot lesbian action all over the place. It's like it's all this. It's a movie. It is literally the perfect juxtaposition against Come and See, where Come and See is just trying to hurt every one of your senses. It's coming after your senses. It's like, fuck your eyes, fuck your ears, fuck everything about you. I want you to feel sad and hate life. And then this movie, it's like, oh yeah, fuck your eyes, fuck your and we're gonna make you throw up. I don't give a shit. Fuck you. Like it was like that, but mocking you as an audience. It was, but like I've had the music stuck in my head since I've seen it. I've been humming, is it nostalgia or are we just love and star-crossed?
Could have put our love and star-crossed. Whoa! I sure biscuit my salad tossed. That's it. Me and you's doing a musical.
That shit was so good. Like, and I love, like, I'm weird about musical comedy. I'm weird about it. Sometimes it just doesn't work with me. Like I wouldn't say I'm picky because I really like everybody. I don't know if you can name somebody I don't, but I am more drawn to people who are focused on like how good it is compared to just lyrics. And this was something that had both. I'll use here's two examples. So like Flight of the Conchords, I think, does this really good where like they have their music absolutely down packed when it comes to what they're playing, and they have their lyrics down packed. But then you look at a guy like Stephen Lynch. I don't know if you remember Stephen Lynch.
I know who Stephen Lynch is. Yes.
Nothing really to shake a stick at musically, but pretty good lyrics. This is one of those scenarios where it's like, God damn, these were people who know what they're doing. These are dudes who love what they're making and love what they're doing. And I think that's my big takeaway from this.
I'm actually glad, man, because like it's funny, you impress me every time we talk about film, and this is why. I don't have to tell you anything about this film. And in my heart of hearts, I hope that you, being the movie snob you are, pick up these things in the film like I do and like you're supposed to. And goddamn, dude, you pick up every fucking thing every time I recommend you something. I'll give you a quick little insight. You're absolutely right. What I love so much about Troma is they've been the longest independent film studio, and they've always made films not about money, because it's usually all this will blow your mind. It's usually all donation and volunteers. And a lot of the time Lloyd ends up putting more money out of his own pocket to finish films. And it's like a grassroots kind of thing, dude. They're kind of like the bad boys of indie cinema.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for any, you have to like, they're never usually, because of the content and because of the way their films are, most places aren't really, looking to fucking play their movies. So like, they're always fighting to try to, get in movie theaters, and they're always trying to find places that'll, accept and play their films. And it's always been a, people sleeping on the floor. It's like they're there because they want to be there. It's there because they're passionate about the art. They're passionate about being actors, actresses. They're passionate about even being part of, that whole thing. That like, that's how I think filmmaking should be.
Yeah.
Have more respect for people that make 25-cent films, but have a heart as big as the ocean about it, than some fuckhead that you give $100 million to and they make some vapid fucking recycled bullshit movie that
I love it. If you don't love the art form, if you don't love what you're creating, if you don't love everything about what you're doing, then the products that you put out are going to be garbage. And this is a movie, and I can understand why, like, don't get me wrong, like, for as much as I love this movie and like really enjoyed it, I mean, it was fucking ridiculous. It like I can see why these would be hard to like give to the mainstream to get into theaters to get like I can understand that. But this was clearly made by people who really love making movies. It's what draws me to guys like Cassavetes or Charles Burnett, like these people who, even when they were given money, even when they got money to make what they wanted to make, you still saw how much they love it. Robert Altman's another guy like that, where it's like when they're given the money, look at what they do. And watching these guys watching this movie, which I didn't look and see how much it cost to make, but I can assume like it's a lot, but for movie standards, it's not going to be that much.
Actually, that was the most ambitious film they've ever did.
Really?
Yeah, and here's actually a lot of all the effects were donations. A lot of all the effects workers were volunteers, and he actually spent. This will blow your mind. His wife was a film commissioner for the MPAA for 40 years, and they actually spent their retirement money to finish the film.
Wow, you blew my mind on that one.
Because that's how that's how confident they were in this film, and it paid off because it actually was it's probably their most successful film to date. But a lot of people don't realize, Nextina actually just reminded me of a really good point. A lot of amazing people came from Troma and used that as a stepping stone.
I was going to bring that up because I mean, I think you and I talked about this like off air and stuff. I'm a
James Gunn.
Well, we talked about James Gunn, but I saw that James Gunn made movies for them, but what I actually was more drawn to, that I didn't know this, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are like my absolute idols.
Oh my God, dude! Have you seen Cannibal the musical?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say. I remember watching Cannibal. Like, I mean, here's the funny thing. I think I've only seen Cannibal for the first time probably within like the last 3 or 4 years when I was able to get a hold of it. I never realized like that was the production company. And then when
it's a Troma movie. Actually, they were such fans of Lloyd and Troma that they sold the movie to him for $1. They just wanted to be on fucking. They just wanted to have a Troma film distributed.
Well, it makes sense because like, and I guess I get, and why I'm like latching on to everything you're saying about their style is like the people that came from there, the people who seemingly have come out of this like incubator of just like film love, are absolute killers in the industry, like James Gunn and Trey Parker. Who
Tarantino actually was heavily influenced by Troma, like
well, yeah,
actually Trey and Matt's in Terror Firmer. You got to watch Terror Firmer.
I'll have to watch that next because I want to see more of like their old stuff now.
You have to watch the stuff that's directed by Lloyd though. That's the best stuff. All the other stuff's kind of pickups, and they're hit or miss. I'll let you know what's good and what's not. But anything directed by Lloyd.
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yeah, Xtina said Romeo and Juliet.
What, is that the James Gunn one?
Yeah, him and Lloyd wrote that together. That was Gunn's first film.
Yeah, because I saw that pop in it. Because like when I do, every time I watch a movie, my ritual anytime I watch a new movie is I try and watch it cold. Try and watch the movie as absolute cold as I possibly can. Mm-hmm. And then after I watch it, I just deep dive the shit out of it. Mm-hmm. And the more I like it, the more I deep dive into it. So then I start looking into like, I really like this. So then I'm looking up like, different movies, or I'm reading like reviews. And then I start seeing like James Gunn's name popping up. And then I start looking into that shit. It's like, oh my God, all these people are coming out of this place, and it's I don't know, I was so fascinated by everything that seemingly goes on in that production house. I mean, God damn.
The whole reason he actually asked me, I've had him on my show several times because he's one of my biggest heroes. The whole reason he asked me to do a commercial is because I actually told him how much they meant to me in my life, and he actually was so touched by it that he wanted me to do it in a commercial. And the thing that I like so much about Tromaville is that it's a place where anybody, it doesn't care, they don't care what you look like, who you are, any ethnicity, any sexuality. It's a place where everybody could just come together and be themselves and fucking be appreciated. And yeah, it's what I love so much about it. That's what I love so much about their movies, and they're all about. Tromaville is just an big boiling pot of fucking freaks and weirdos. So I've always felt comfortable there. So that's where I want to be. So
I'm happy. I'm very happy you got me hip to that world.
You don't even know how much that means to me, dude. Like that makes me. You just made my fucking night.
Because here's the thing, like you and I'm again. It's why we made this. It's why we did this podcast. I'm normally the pretentious guy I'm just watching like Criteria. I mean, you can see behind me, I got the Bergman box set behind me, and I don't even have it shown, but I got like Fellini and fucking Bart. Like I'm the art house. Let's watch Tarkovsky and pretend that we understand it. That's like my thing. Like I'm really happy you got me hip to this this sort of renegade style, even if it may not be my full flavor all the way around. I am so fascinated by filmmakers who have this philosophy of pick up the camera and go. Pick up where you are, get people together, let's get something in the can. Let's write whatever the hell we can think of, and let's get it on paper, and let's get it on screen, and let's make it as beautiful and everything that we want it to be, and let's just do that. That's creative freedom. That's just artistic. It's beautiful, and
I know, dude. I'm so glad you get that, because that's the thing that's always attracted me to them. And it's never. I mean, I actually have the best book I've ever read, I think, in my life is his autobiography. It's called Everything I Learned about Filmmaking. I learned from filming The Toxic Avenger. And he actually has a make your own damn movie box set from a series of books. And I have it. And like, that's all it's about. Like, they talk to people like James Gunn, Eli Roth, Trey and Matt, all these people.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Eli Roth came out of that too.
Yeah. So did Kevin Costner. So did Marissa Tomei. So did what was the dude that directed JFK?
Oliver Stone.
Yeah, Oliver Stone came from Troma.
Oliver Stone came out of Troma.
Yeah, dude, he's actually. Yeah, dude, look it up. It's an homage.
Oh no, that's amazing.
Yeah, like all these fucking. It's just. Yeah, like they're like usually the stepping stone, like because they'll give anybody a chance. And like when you're first trying to come up, that getting that foot in the door is pretty hard, and a lot of people won't give you that chance. So I mean, that's another thing I think is really cool. And I have to say, Lloyd is probably one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, and I value his friendship immensely. If I am just completely besides myself. If I go back in the time machine, and I told myself as a kid, you're going to be friends with Lloyd Kaufman one day, I would shit my pants. But it's amazing, dude.
Well, you shit yourself for any old reason.
I've shit that for I've shit for lesser of a reason, but I mean that shit means something.
It's a shit you would always remember.
Did you catch that everybody's name in the movie was the name of a fast food?
Yeah. Yes. Except the general. Which
the general. Well, he was supposed to be the colonel.
When that fucking line where he's giving that speech at the end, he goes, just like my grandpappy used to say, get the matches first across. Oh, wait, I was like, oh my Jesus Christ. Because then, it was so well, because normally when you have those lines, it feels like almost too campy, especially when you do the reaction shots. But for some reason, it's that line, just that pull back, and you immediately see all the eyes go, just their eyes widened all around it like that was more than enough. Like that shit was so ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the thing that really makes it never offensive is because if you're familiar with them, you know they're pointing that out for a reason to show how stupid racism is. As opposed to making racist jokes for the point of being a racist asshole.
For such a fucking ridiculous movie that was so goddamn immature and so like, what the fuck is this schoolyard bullshit? Like, it was tackling big issus.
See, that's what I was actually getting at too. That's another thing. Remember I said you pick up shit that nobody else picks up? They're actually intelligent.
Yeah.
With all those layers of goop and gore and lesbians and
you're mocking bad corporations. You're mocking racism. You're mocking protesting as a fad. You're mocking like this grossness of people who will just eat the most disgusting shit that you'll put in front of them, even if it has like, you know, green fucking boils on it. They're like, oh, it's flavor enhancer. Blah, 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 blah. Like it was.
I'm so happy you got all that shit because like
was mocking everything.
The idea for a movie comes pulled right from something happening in society, and then that's the initial spark that gets everything rolling. And it's funny when you go back to past films. I can't wait till you watch some other ones. You'll see that underlying, it's like that in every film. There's always something,
and that's just what impressed me the most. I would say is like, for it being so immature, like holy shit, these are clearly intelligent people making this ridiculous shit. And like they're doing it on purpose. Like everything they are doing intentionally, and it's pretty badass. I really, really like it.
Mr. Honesty, you made balls, I have to say. Why? Because I'll be honest with you, dude, and it's been wrestling me in my mind for a week now. I'm like, I have yet to meet somebody that hates Poultrygeist, and I'm like, if he hates Poultrygeist, I'm gonna probably cry on camera. I think I might cry because like I've never met any people. I know people that hate Troma, and they even enjoy Poultrygeist. My buddy Jimmy, he's not a humongous Troma fan, but he fucking loves Poultrygeist. Like, yeah. So I'm like, I'm really, and in all honesty, dude, it's such a fun movie that I'm just like, even Xtina, she's not so much a big Troma fan, but she loves it. Like, so it's just such a fun movie. I was hoping that you would have that fun that I had when I, because like, I mean, dude, and the thing about their movies is like, I always catch something on a repeated viewing. You know, I've seen Poultrygeist probably 300 times now. I seen it in the theater when he was taking it around like for festivals. I seen an unfinished copy. So I mean, yeah, it's
around it. That's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, dude, I seen it. I actually was with him. They had a Troma Fest in Dormont's probably about 15 years ago. And I got to see Citizen Toxie, the Toxic Avenger 4 premiere at the Oaks Theater, and I got to sit with Lloyd because he was with us the whole weekend, and I spent the whole weekend with him, and we bonded. We shared a special romantic night in Haiti. I mean, what you didn't? But, he actually wrote that on my one DVD. He's like balls. Remember our night in Haiti? Love Lloyd. XOXO. So
before he left, he goes, never forget.
Oh, Mr.
That's for us.
Oh. Kudos, sir. And I gotta say, dude, I've been having an incredible time. People's really seem to be digging our show, man. But I'm glad we're putting this out because everyone's been like, when are you gonna make another fucking show, man?
Listen, Balls, I know I've said this to you many times, but it is not often I am able to tell people, don't fucking bother me. I'm working. And they go, what are you working on? And I get to say, I'm watching Poultrygeist. It is a movie about chickens who turn fast food chain into zombies, and it's a musical. Just leave me alone. I'm doing serious business. Fuck off. Like it is one of the greatest feelings in the world To be able to say these upsetting and ridiculous things to my family and people who love me, and have them have to walk away and go, what the fuck is he doing with his life? So thank you, Balls. It is an honor, and it makes me very happy that we get to make, we now we have a reason to watch our movies. Now we're not just lazy assholes. We're like professionals, and we're like the Walmart version of Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah.
So
And I say, over this process, I feel like you're probably going to give me a little culture that I could probably use. Because, like, I mean, I'm so used to watching the shit that I like, but I'm a lover of cinema in general, so I'm surely open to anything that I think you would recommend. So, I mean, I get a little culture, you get a little schlock and trash. So there's nothing wrong with that.
it is a match. It is just the beautiful mix. It is.
You are the yin to my yang, sir. Isn't it gorgeous?
We're gonna touch tips. That's what we do.
Don't cross the streams. We'll just touch tips.
We sword fight. We touch tips. We
According to the big book of gay, we could do that another 10 times and we're still good. So
that's the rule. It's
we have to get married. I have to divorce her, and I mean you have to go to Hawaii, I think.
We can do a 3. We can do like a 3 thing. We can, if we have to convert to Mormonism, we can convert to being Mormon.
Okay, that's the easy out. Let's just do that. It'll be a lot easier.
Yeah, it's simple. We just got to get a Bible. I think that's really all you need, and then the 3 of us can get married. It's
Okay, cool. Sounds good. What do you think, XT?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well,
that was easy. Jeez.
Well, for the next episode, we're gonna have a priest on here, and we're gonna do a polyamorous wedding. So,
it's funny. I just talked to High Pitch Eric, and he's an ordained minister now. So maybe we'll just have him do it.
Lord in heaven.
You take this awfully wedded to be. On that note, I think we should probably close this up. It's been a hell of an interesting episode. I like it. Again, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Matt Onesti, as always. Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you for having me, Balls.
Till next time.
Love you, my dude. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I love doing this with you. We are
buddy.
Doing this forever, my guy.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you, everyone.